Flip 6 is the latest iteration of what the perfect flip phone looks like from Samsung. Let's unbox it and then let me show you the settings I recommend you change to get a flip phone that works for you in my setup guide. But first, hi, I'm Captain Awesome, this is Geekception, and I really appreciate if you hit that like button and subscribe as it really helps me out here on the channel. First, let's start with the unboxing. On the front of the box is an image of the phone with Galaxy Z Flip text down there below. Tearing the tabs at the top and bottom gets you into the box, where I see the phone and another compartment that contains the USB Type-C to Type-C cable, user guide and warranty card, and the SIM card ejector tool. Finally, picking up the Z Flip 6 and I get to my favorite part. Taking a tour of the Z Flip 6, on the inside display is a 6.7-inch AMOLED display with a 10-megapixel front-facing camera. On the outside flex window is a 3.4-inch display with the dual camera system, which now has an upgraded 50-megapixel wide camera and still the same 12-megapixel ultra-wide camera. On the right side are the volume buttons and a power button that doubles as a fingerprint scanner. On the left side of the phone is a SIM card slot. On the top is the microphone array, and on the bottom you can find another microphone array, a Type-C USB port, and speakers. Okay, enough foreplay. Let's turn this baby on. And on turning on the phone, I get a prompt for Galaxy AI showing me an overview of all the AI features on the Z Flip 6. Because yes, you get AI here on the Z Flip 6 and Samsung is never going to make you forget that fact. And while yes, Samsung is going to push their Galaxy AI, I think even more important here on the Z Flip 6 is the fact that we're getting 7 years of Android upgrades and also 7 years of security updates, which I think is way better than just the AI features here. And I think should be even more marketed because yes, this is a phone for the long term. All right, unboxing is done, and after getting that out of the way, let's start with my setup guide with some of the settings that I recommend you change immediately you get the Z Flip 6 right here. Okay, so one of the first settings I'm going to change is by swiping up in the home screen so that I am in my app drawer there. Then I will tap on the 3-dot menu on the top there, and then I will tap on sort as I want to sort my apps by alphabetical order so that it's much more easier to find the apps that I install, because I find that the default Samsung behavior, which is just to chuck all of your installed apps at the back, is not one that I like at all. So yes, let's sort it by alphabetical order. The next thing I want to do is change it from on-screen buttons to on-screen gestures. So I'm going to tap on settings, then I'm going to tap on display here. I'm going to scroll down and tap on navigation bar and then select swipe gestures. And this will mean that I now have new swipe gestures from the bottom of the phone, which I just feel is a lot more modern than buttons. Like, what is this, 2008? Next, I want to make my display adjust to the temperature around. So I'm going to go into settings, then I'm going to go into display after that. I'm going to scroll down and then enable adaptive color tone. And just like True Tone on the iPhone, in case you're wondering, it will adjust the screen temperature to the temperature around you, which I find to just make the phone a whole lot more comfortable. And speaking of comfort, this phone is a very tall phone. So one of the settings I always like enabling is swiping down to reveal the expanded control center from the home screen. So first I want to swipe and go into the control center settings from the home screen there, which you can do by double swiping the notifications and then tap on the pen icon there. Now after that, tap on quick settings, instant access, and then enable it. So now if we go back to the home screen and you swipe down from the right, it will show you the expanded notifications compared to just swiping on the left, which will show you the normal notifications pane right there. So swiping from the right will show you the expanded control center. I find that just makes it easier for me to access settings so I don't have to double swipe each time. Next, let's protect your battery health in the long run. So what we're going to do is go into the settings. We're going to scroll down and tap on battery and then tap on battery protection. And in here, I want you to turn it on. Now, there are 3 levels of battery protection basically here, which is the first, basic, adaptive, which will use the time you sleep and wake up to estimate when your phone should be fully charged, and maximum, which will stop charging your phone when it's like hits 80% battery. And normally I would ask you to turn on the maximum because this is what will protect your battery life in the long run. But because the battery here on the Z Flip 6 is not the biggest, and now we have the 4000 milliampere batteries, but bringing it down to 80% charge I think will just make the battery life the same as the Z Flip 5, if that makes sense, and you'll not actually get the benefit of the upgrade. So here on the Z Flip 6, counter to what I normally suggest, I will suggest you keep it at basic, which will make sure your phone does not charge to 100% and stay there if you keep it plugged in. It will drop down the battery and sort of keep it variable. Or alternatively, you can also select adaptive as well, which will make sure that your phone charges to 80% at least, and then before you wake up in the morning, it will charge it to 100%, which I think is a good middle ground and compromise to be able to get better battery life here on the Z Flip 6 in the long run. Next, we know that there are many Galaxy AI features included here in the Galaxy Z Flip 6, and if we're going to the settings, there's even a dedicated Galaxy AI sections here under the settings as well, where you can sort of see a brief overview of some of all the Galaxy AI features that you now have on the Galaxy Z Flip 6. But if you're like me, or if you're like very privacy conscious, you might also wonder, what does this mean for your privacy, right? And if maybe you don't even want to use the AI, what do you do? Well, you can just, by turning on process data only on the device right here, you can make sure that your data is not sent to any of their cloud, whatever, and you can make sure that you only keep everything to on device. But something to note here is that you will lose access to some of the generative AI stuff that Samsung uses. But again, if you're privacy conscious, then this is a setting to disable it if you want. And since we're talking about security, let's set up the security here on the Z Flip 6. So for me, it would have to be the fingerprint scanner. So first open your settings, then scroll down to security and privacy, and then tap on biometrics. Now, here you have two options, which is face recognition or fingerprints. Now, I'm going to tap on fingerprints, enter your PIN code if you have one or set one up, and then tap on continue. And then now on the right side of the Z Flip 6, you can add your fingerprint to the phone here and then use it to unlock your phone, which I find very convenient. And it's one of those things I always do when I get my new phone, is to set up the fingerprint. And since this is your phone, why not make it yours completely? So let's do that by going here and tapping on the settings, scrolling all the way down and tapping on about phone, and then tap on rename. And here is where I will name the device, truly making it mine, where I will call it my awesome Z Flip 6. And no customization is complete without the cover screen here on the Z Flip 6, as you know, it's one of the most fun features of this phone, which you must already know if you bought it. So I'm going to go into settings, I'm going to scroll down and tap on cover screen, and here you can manage our cover screen, including the new interactive widgets that now come with the Z Flip 6. So by tapping add new under featured, I'm going to scroll to the right and select one of the interactive widgets there. And this is so nice because it actually uses the accelerometer of the phone, so when you move around, it actually moves the doggies around here in this example. Like, look at those cute doggies, aren't they very cute? And by tapping on the clock, for example, you can customize the clock to whatever it is you want, and you can even customize the color as well. And then when you tap done, it would apply it to the cover screen. Next, let's head into the Play Store, and I'm going to go through some of the apps that I always download immediately I get a new phone. And the first one here is Notion, as this is where I do all of my channel management. This is where I write my scripts. This is where I manage my videos. It's such a key important aspect of my video production workflow. The next app I'm going to be installing is Bitwarden, which is my password manager of choice. Just like Notion, I cannot do without Bitwarden right here. All of my passwords are on here, and make sure that you have a password manager, number one, for security reasons, and number two, I hope you're not still using the same password you set when you were in high school. Please download a password manager, and Bitwarden is just a very great option here. It's free as well, right? The next app I'll be installing as well is Kiwi Browser, which is my favorite browser of choice, as it enables me to be able to use Chrome extensions here on my Android phone, which is so useful for me. And Kiwi Browser is definitely the third app I always install. And I think the last app here is Local Send, as this is one of the apps I use to transfer files and footages like between all of my devices. And it's just like AirDrop, except it works for like all operating systems and it's available on all platforms, right? So basically, if you have a Wi-Fi network and connect all your devices, you can send files between Android and PC and Mac and iOS. It works everywhere. And the last, and here on the Z Flip 6, most important part of this setup is the camera. Like, I mean, we got an upgraded camera this year, so there are definitely lots of things that I'm looking forward to capturing here on the Z Flip 6. But let us customize it first and get the best out of the camera here. Now, open up the camera for the first time and it shows the camera interface, which if you're familiar with each Samsung device is pretty standard here, except now we have 50 megapixels on the main camera here. So if you tap on that main camera, you can switch to the 50 megapixels, which is so so nice to see finally. And because this is a flip phone, when I tap on the top right corner, it will turn on the cover screen, which Samsung calls the flex window, and you can like see yourself, and whoever is taking the photo or video will also be able to see it. And it's very useful when I need to record myself, but I also need to be able to see myself on the cover screen as well, which is always great. So first, let's quickly go into the settings here in the camera and see what we can change, right? Scrolling down under videos, I want to turn off auto FPS, as I want my frames to be constant whenever I'm recording a video, and it might not seem like a big deal, and sometimes it's nice to have it, but I would say some other times it's not great, especially if you want a consistent frame throughout the video. And then under advanced video options, I want to turn on high bitrate video, because that is what will give the highest quality video settings, and also because I'll be recording lots of videos on this phone, so I want great quality. Going back and under general fit to screen 3:4 aspect ratio, I want to turn that off. It might look good here on the flex window on the outside display, but the image will not be one I want to use, say on YouTube for example, so I want to make sure I turn that off. Next, I want to turn on grid lines, as that enables me to be able to align the images properly, and if you're new to capturing photos and videos, that will be a great tool as well for you to be able to center your subject if you're shooting something, for example. And I also want to turn on location tags as well, and to bring up a pop-up click while using the app, so I can get all the location data on all of my photos. Next, under settings to keep, I want to make sure that I tap on camera mode, selfie angle, higher picture resolutions, and filters. Basically, this means that whenever I exit the camera, whatever mode I use last is the same mode that will still be there when I come back into the camera, which can be very useful, especially when I want to get shots and I don't want to change the mode. I just want to get right into the last mode that I used. And finally, I want to tap on tracking autofocus, so that whenever the autofocus mode I have, I can be able to track the subject in the shot, especially if I'm recording myself. I want the autofocus to follow me. I'm going into video mode and tapping on resolution. We can see that you can shoot up to UHD at 60 frames per second here on the Z Flip 6, and I think because of the 50 megapixel main camera, you can also do 2x zoom, which is a very nice welcome inclusion. And going right and tapping on more, you can see that there are definitely more options here, such as the Pro mode, the Expert RAW, and even the portrait video as well. Basically, all the Samsung devices at this price point should have these features, and the Z Flip 6 here, I'm glad to say, has all of these features as well. I also want to turn on motion photos, which means that every time I take a photo, it will actually sort of video attached to that, which is always nice to be able to relive all of those memories later. And the last thing here in the camera is that it now has this auto framing mode, which if you just open up the camera without propping it up, it actually is normal, but the moment you open up the camera right there, it enters into this auto frame mode, where the phone will then automatically track you and follow you wherever it is you are in the shot, which can be pretty nifty, especially if you don't have any friends, or if you just want to get a shot where you are sitting far away from the phone and you still want it to be able to capture you there. But one thing to note is that if you are recording in 60 frames per second in 4K, it will turn off video stabilization. So to make sure that you have video stabilization, this is an error I made, make sure you have it at UHD 30 frames per second. Next, let's go into the gallery and experiment with some of the AI features here that are present on the Z Flip 6. Now, opening up the gallery and just tapping on the AI button on the center bottom there, and we see some options here such as moving, resizing, transforming our photos, and drawing. Now I'm going to tap OK here, and we get several options. And because this is a portrait, I can then tap on Portrait Studio and I can have it regenerate me in a couple of different styles. So here I'm going to select comic and I'm going to click generate, and in total, I'm fast forwarding it right now. It took about 16 seconds to generate, but this is some of the options that it gave, and wow, that is very similar. But yes, these are some of the options it gave, and saving it is as easy as just tapping download button and it saves it to the gallery right there. And yeah, this is how you use the feature, the Galaxy AI feature here, where you can take an image in your gallery and then you can be able to like generate like AI out of it. But one thing that I missed though is that before, if I took a photo, let's say in the S24 Ultra, I could be able to actually add bokeh in the background. But now with this generative AI stuff, we seem to have lost that feature, which I hope they bring back, because I use that a whole lot more than I think I'll be using this generative AI comic, anime, 3D cartoon feature here. Okay, setup guide done. What do I think about the Z Flip 6? Well, I've already gotten some hands-on time with this phone before, but on unboxing it, the first thing thing I noticed is just how nice the phone feels in the hand. Now, here on the Z Flip 6, it has this matte feeling to the edges of the phone, which makes it super grippy compared to, let's say, the Z Flip 5 right here. And of course, I made a comparison video doing all of that, but it was just so much more real when I actually unboxed the phone for the first time. And I did not expect it to feel good, especially with the squared off edges. On the S24 Ultra, for example, it's not the most comfortable, the squared off edges there, but here it's still pretty nice to hold actually here on the Z Flip 6. And another thing I noticed also is that the crease now is actually much less visible here on the Z Flip 6. And on my Z Flip 5, I could see like a yellow line where the crease is whenever I use the phone with any white backgrounds. But here on the Z Flip 6, I did not notice any of that. Like literally as I took the phone out of the box and I started using it, even right now, just looking at the phone right here, I cannot pick it out. I have to look at it from an angle to maybe be able to see it. So it's great that the crease is so much better here on the Z Flip 6. And finally, in case you were wondering, the cases for the Z Flip 5 right here do not fit on the Z Flip 6. And I think one of the major reasons is because of now the camera ring that we have here on the Z Flip 6 is a little too big. So cases that will fit the Z Flip 5, because it has a smaller ring, does not fit the Z Flip 6, which is very sad to hear, especially if you wanted to use some of your cool cases from the Z Flip 5 on the Z Flip 6 right here. And that is pretty much it. That is my unboxing and setup guide for the Z Flip 6. I'm already working on my review. I'm already working on several videos, comparisons with the Z Flip 5 in performance, in camera, all of those good stuff. So if you have any requests, this is the best time. Don't be shy. Leave all those comments down there below. Let me know what you think about the Z Flip 6. Do you guys have a Z Flip 5 right here? Are you considering upgrading? Let me know all of those things. Have you bought your Z Flip 6? Do some of these tips help you? Do you have any tips to share with us? Please let me know all of those things and more in the comment section down there below. And yes, since you're already here and you've made it to the end of this video, thank you so much. Do leave those likes, do leave those comments. They really help me out here with the algorithm and with YouTube in general. But more importantly than that, I hope you enjoy the Z Flip 6. If you've already bought it, I hope you have a great time with the upgraded camera and the bigger battery and all of that good stuff. And while you're having a good time, if you have some spare change and you want to buy me a cup of coffee, I have a link down there in the description where you can do that to help with the channel here, especially since I'm independent here on the channel. But yes, text me when you get home so I know you get home safe. And until the next time, I've been your captain of awesome. This is Geekception, and I'll catch you next time. Don't forget to stay awesome. Bye.